Welcome back to another episode of the Y'all Be Good podcast. This week, Heather and I have the privilege to sit down with two people who have spent their lives helping families in our community smile a little bit brighter. Yep, it's Dr. John Crawford and Dr. Jane Wright. For many of us here in Kenosha, the Crawford name isn't just associated with orthodontics, it's associated with family. Their story spans generations, beginning with Dr. Crawford's father in dentistry and continuing today as Dr. Crawford and his daughter, Dr. Wright, work side by side carrying on that legacy. Now, of course, we talk about braces and orthodontics. I mean, my own kids are patients with them, so I had to sneak in a few questions, but this conversation becomes so much more than that. We talk about growing up in a family business and what it's like working as a father and daughter duo every day, how the profession has changed over the years, and what it means to serve the same community for decades. It's a conversation about family, legacy, relationships, and building something that lasts. Not just beautiful smiles, but a reputation built on caring for people. So, whether you're thinking about braces, you're part of a family business yourself, or you just enjoy hearing the stories of people who've made a lasting impact on our community, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. This is Season 2, Episode 4 of the Y'all Be Good podcast. And remember, y'all be good.
3, 2, 1. Let's go!
Yeah, so give us a little orientation on what the plan is.
We're just going to do what we're doing right now and striking up a conversation, and we'll lead it in. We already started. It's been recording.
Really?
Yeah. So we just like to keep it as comfortable as possible, and we can ask you questions, or you guys can decide if you want something, if there's something pressing that you guys want to talk about. Like, we are a kids' hair salon, and most of our audience are parents.
Yeah.
So, like, I was talking to one of my clients, her family's in the dentistry too. And I was telling her about my last experience getting my teeth cleaned, where there was a family in the room next to me, and this little girl is crying and screaming and doesn't want to do it. And mom's first response is to say, if you don't let them clean your teeth, they're going to take them all out. Which is
Not
just
helpful.
like, that is so
It's kind of like here when the kids are maybe squirming around a little bit and parents are like, if you don't stop moving, they're going to cut your ear off. I'm like, guys, don't tell the kids.
Don't tell them that.
Really unhelpful.
Not helpful.
What a comparable thing, not as significant as that. But we deal with a lot of kids where the mom or dad, and it happens with both parents, want to sit right up against the kid and rub their thigh
They
or
want to
their
be
arm
near
and
them.
ask them about every 3 minutes, are you okay? Does it hurt? And you just want to say, could you just
back off.
Yeah, you're making them worse. They're wondering, is it supposed to hurt, Mom?
Yes.
Why do you keep asking me that?
Yes.
And we're thinking, this shouldn't hurt. I mean, there could be a little bits of uncomfortable pressure or fitting something on the teeth or whatever. But for the most part, these, I'll call them helicopter parents.
Yeah, of course.
Kind of make it worse. And it's so cool when you have an 8-year-old you're working on and the parents out in the waiting room.
Yes.
You're reading. They're like totally trust and totally, hey, kiddo, you can do it. Go on in. And kid leaves with a smile on their face, but they don't have this parent hovering over them the whole time, asking them if they're okay.
Do you guys feel comfortable enough? Because sometimes we'll tell the parent, like, why don't you go sit on the couch? Mm-hmm. Or I've got some parents especially with my kids who are a little bit higher needs. I'm like, no, sit down. This is me. This is me. Because like in the end, when you're doing your business, you are the professional. You are the boss of the house.
Correct.
And if the parent is negating what you're saying, they don't know who to listen to.
Right.
Do they listen to the dentist? Do they listen to the person that's doing the work? Or do they listen to their parent?
Right.
And it's hard for them to go back and forth, and then they end up just blowing up or melting down.
Right.
So do you guys ever have that moment where you're like, you know what? Why don't you go sit in this chair You can stay here. You just back off a little bit.
Yeah, what I usually say to parents, especially if I sense that there could be that high attention helicoptering happening, is I'll tell the parent, you're welcome to stay back here. But when I'm giving directions, if you could just not tell Joey what to do as well, that would be super helpful.
Yeah.
And I say you can be a silent observer. You're welcome to stay.
Yeah.
And then if the child is acting up or screaming or whatever, which is rare, but if it happens, then I usually speak directly to the child and I'll say, Susie, your mom can stay back here if you can settle down. Otherwise, I'm going to ask your mom to go in the waiting room.
Sure.
And it's like 50-50. And sometimes the parents take that cue and they stand up and walk out. And then miraculously, the child is actually better. And we get the job done. And within a minute, the child's finished with the procedure.
Always.
And other times, the child calms down and mom can stay.
Yeah.
So fortunately.
We have one family that I'm remembering now. I think he's a lot better now, but I remember we were at our old space and the way you would walk in, I personally had built out that space and I made the front counter way too high. I made it way too high. So you couldn't really see, if you were at the receptionist desk, you couldn't see over the counter to see the door, but that created a little bit of like an alcove in the waiting space. And so we had one family in particular that I'm thinking of, the kiddo would freak out in the chair. But if mom just kind of plopped him in, even though he was freaking out, and she went to sit in the alcove, like where he couldn't see her, he just would he would just secede to the situation and allow it to happen. Sure, there might be tears or something, but he's not trying to claw out at his parents. So we've come across that a time or two.
Something recently we've added, Jockey, right in town, Jockey International is branching out with different products in healthcare. And one of them is a weighted blanket.
Yeah.
They actually have all kinds of shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
They came to a dental meeting and as a gift gave one, if you signed up for it, to every Kenosha dentist that was at the meeting and then asked for their feedback. But for either special needs or anxious people, you can imagine a weighted blanket feels like what used to put on you for x-rays or something.
Yes.
But it's heavy. And for a lot of kids, it kind of relaxes them. It certainly holds their hands down.
Yeah.
And they relax and they do better with it.
I was going to ask, because I remember getting the weighted smock, the protector on me. And I did love it. I know I want a weighted blanket. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask if you guys just keep them on there, but it sounds like you don't have to use that anymore.
Yeah, we don't use it for x-rays because they're digital now and there's such collimated, focused, it's just hitting your jaw where it's not smattering your whole body. It's low dose because the digital receptors are so sensitive compared to x-ray film.
Oh, wow.
That
so
you don't
cool.
need that anymore.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even in pregnant patients, they're saying there's no restrictions in pregnancy. And
wow.
so it's really low radiation now. But the weighted blanket, I also use a different tone of my voice when I put it on kids. And I'll say, I have something I really think you're going to like. It's a magic blanket and it's nice and it's going to relax you. And it's just wild how even kids that really struggle, we have a lot of kids with autism, they calm down. And it is like magic. It's like a magic blanket.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I always think of Big Daddy when he's like, when you put these sunglasses on, no one can see.
Oh, sure.
And he's like, bet.
Yeah.
And I think about that all the time where it's just putting that idea in their head sometimes makes them feel so much better.
Well, tell them about the weighted cape.
Oh, so there's a gentleman in Dallas. He created the weighted cape because he knew how much it helped his family. And so the top of the cape has a weight system you can put into it. So I have a 1.5 pound and I have a 3 pound weight, and it gets zipped into it and then it goes over their shoulders. So the base of it's here and then there's a little piece that goes over the shoulders. And if they're already hyped up and really agitated, it doesn't really help too much. But if there's someone who's used to haircuts but still gets a little nervous, that really helps them. I've got some kids, I have to, there's the goal of the sensory room is to get them eventually out and back onto the floor so that they can just have a regular experience. So sometimes I'll bring that out from there and bring it out here for the kids that don't necessarily need the sensory room. But sometimes we'll go back there and put it on too, because
Well, you could check with Jockey right in town. They're branching out. I mean, those things are not just for healthcare. They're not anything related to x-rays. They're just a weighted blanket.
Sure. Yeah.
And they've got whatever they're using.
They're making different shapes too. So the dental one is long and narrow, like a dental chair.
Yeah.
But they said they use them for patients getting chemo too, that it's very relaxing
Wow.
for chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And they're wider and broader. So
I wonder.
I think they're
Should.
making different sizes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
trying to. I haven't worked on it very much, but I want to make a non-for-profit so that we can also help sponsor families who can't necessarily afford the more long-form haircut experience that happens in the sensory room, because autism affects anybody, and I've got some families that there's no problem, they can afford to come on the schedule that I work out with them, and they can afford that much for a haircut, but some families are not as well off and they come only when they can, and that doesn't really help the child. So I want to build a sponsorship thing, and then like that way too, like Andis is right up the street and this is their forte. So I'm hoping that will help encourage them, because like businesses don't necessarily always want to donate if they don't get something out of it, which sounds kind of tacky, but whatever.
Yeah.
But it is.
Well, they want it to be something that's marketing.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
100%. So, but no, I'm going to see what they have, because I like the weighted cape, and I would definitely take a weighted blanket, but it could, the only thing I wouldn't want to do is like step on that guy's toes.
Right.
His name's Henry, and he designed it, he patented it, whatever. So he's got his whole thing going on, but I was really excited.
Is he up here though, or is he down?
No, he's
Texas?
in Dallas.
Yeah,
so
well, how's he going to know? How are you going to get on his toes?
no, because I don't want
in
like
Texas.
jock. Like he's a small business, is what I'm
Oh,
referring to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he also just built his own sensory salon. So you come in and there's 2 rooms, and one's like a space themed room and one is a dinosaur themed room, and you go in there and they have stuff hanging from the ceilings. It looks like a therapist office. So, and they do the haircuts in there. And just like I do, where it's like there's no expectation for him to sit in a chair. There's no expectation for them to stand in one spot. Like yesterday, I had one where we would do the countdown of cuts, and then he would do his little run around, and then we'd do the 3, 2, 1, and then he'd run around, and we'd play with bubbles, and like it takes a little bit longer, but like I'd rather have it take longer than hold them down, because you can't hold these kids down forever. They're going to grow up.
Right.
Another thing about our profession, this is dentistry too in general, but one of the things about being on your back with your stomach up in life, that's kind of a recessive, like if you think of dogs.
Like a surrendering.
Surrendering, yeah. 2 dogs fighting. When it's received, we'll lay on their back like, okay, you have me if you're going to bite me, you do it.
Yeah.
So when humans, you lay back in a dental chair, you're sort of vulnerable. You might feel, you're not up ready to, sense defend yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
And so
Never
that's the
thought
other
of
thing.
that.
We work on people in that position. You're more upright.
Yeah.
If someone tried to run out of the chair, they could get out of
Which they do.
They could get out of your chair faster than ours. But so that's the other thing about, I think, dentistry in general, is we have to calm people. Now they see you working around their back. They see peripheral vision.
Yes.
Sure.
Some kids are like, what's that? What's
Yeah.
that? There's just a mirror. I'm just going to look at your teeth. I'm just going to do this. But they're always...
We do a lot of tell show do.
Yes.
Where we say this is etched, because some of our paints come in little syringes. It looks like a needle. So we'll show the patient, this is just a paint. Or when they're sitting up, we explain the appointment to them too. Even kids that don't have sensory issues. I think most people appreciate that. You say, these are the cheek retractors. I have 2 different paints to put on your teeth. They taste weird. We're going to rinse them off. For the kids that understand, or for our adults, I also tell them how long it's going to take. This takes about 4 minutes.
Sure.
Or I'll tell mom, we'll be done in less than 5 minutes. Because they wonder too, like it's an hour appointment.
Sure.
Are they really... Does the whole thing take that long? It's like, no, this part is short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really helpful, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, especially some of my kiddos are big into numbers and time. So like you tell them like 4 minutes, and some of them will whip out a timer on you, and like that's all you get. Yeah. That's all you get. Or they do the countdown. That's all you get. But you guys are like inside their mouths.
Right.
So there's, if they don't keep it open wide enough, then it might take longer. Because that's what we tell them. Like, if you keep doing this, it's going to take me longer to get in there.
How do you cut the right side when you're scrunching it against your shoulder?
How early do you guys start? I know I should know this because we've been with you guys for the 3 kids now, but how early are you guys looking at the placement or growth?
The recommendation is
Start.
the age of 7 to have a first look.
Okay.
Because that's when the permanent teeth start to come in. Well, around the age of 6, the first permanent tooth usually starts to come in.
Yeah.
So by 7, if there's a spacing issue, a skeletal development issue, a habit like thumb sucking, it's a good age to nip it in the bud and to identify some of these things. We have seen some 4-year-olds where the dentist has already identified there's a problem here, like a skeletal growth issue. And I can think of a handful of 4-year-olds that we've treated, but the vast majority are older, over the age of 7.
Yeah.
And it's not like every child that comes in needs treatment.
Sure.
We are super conservative with when we start because kids get burned out. They really, over-treatment's not good. So we look for, a variety of different things in those young ages. Like I was saying, crossbite, skeletal issue, blocked out teeth, missing teeth. And if all that's good, we put them on recall, just check back in 6 months.
No, I know. When we were there just not long ago, I remember you mentioning something that I thought was just intuitive, and you guys are professionals, obviously, but you were saying just like the time of life that we were with Toby, my middle son, just the time of life that he's in, it's socially acceptable. You use that term for him to have braces during this time, and then maybe later him having to kind of come back. It does get he gets a little bit older, maybe a little bit more self-conscious. And I was really not surprised because you guys are very good at what you guys do, but I was very pleasantly surprised that you guys take into consideration a lot of that stuff. And I suppose that's what sets you guys apart because you guys are thinking of all of it. Yeah, we really have appreciated very much of what you guys have done.
Well, in a case like Toby, growth is an issue.
Yeah, he's a big boy, man.
And boys grow a lot at 14 and 15.
Sure.
Especially 15.
Which scares me.
6 inches at 15.
Because he's already huge.
And so sweet, good time to treat a lot of boys and girls. It's around age 12, plus or minus a year or two, depending on their development. So 5th, 6th, 7th grade. But then sometimes you finish somebody really nicely at 14 and they go into this growth spurt that nobody can control. It's in their genes.
Of course.
And even in college, it seems like their jaw's growing forward or a little to the right or left. And you just kind of have to let them finish before you decide, well, is it going to be enough that we should do something about it or just accept Mother Nature's little addition to right?
Yeah.
But growth continues for many years with kind of a peak, of course, around the prepubertal growth spurt. So for girls, they grow a lot at 12 and 13, and boys a lot at 14 and 15.
Nice.
So girls are about 2 years ahead of boys.
Yeah.
For parents thinking about orthodontia for their child, is there? I don't suppose there's ever a too late situation, right? Like maybe they have been able to finally get insurance or something like that, and their kids 15, 16.
There are a couple situations where it can be too late, like impacted teeth. We've seen impacted canines do some really gnarly things where they're up in the bone and either the parents are not fully aware of the situation or they haven't been to a dentist in a while. And we've seen canines kind of nibble away at the roots of neighboring teeth. And that's when we do sometimes say, oof, we wish we'd seen you sooner.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe too late's not the right word, but we would have liked to have seen you sooner.
Do it.
To
For
prevent
example,
the damage.
we have many, many patients right now in their 60s and even some in their 70s.
Yeah.
I can think of a husband and wife couple that both came in their late 60s.
Sure.
One had an underbite, the other crooked teeth, and they basically are like, we want to do something about this. When can we start? So
60s is the new 40s.
Yeah,
so.
you're never too old, but again, riding that growth spurt, it's like surfing, if you can catch the wave with your board, you don't have to paddle as hard.
Yeah.
But, sometimes we see someone where we're thinking in our mind, I wish we'd have seen you a couple of years ago, but let's work with what we have here.
Well, so I've been working with kids for 20 years and I've seen, like, especially this last few years, how different braces have been, not just like Invisalign, but also smaller, like 2 waves of braces with shorter time frames. Whereas like I got mine probably middle school and I wore them all through high school and whatever. And these kids are coming in and they've got it for 6 months. Then they get taken off. And then a couple of years later, they get put back on. Or just recently, I've seen so many kids with expanders in. So many more kids than I've ever seen before. And I remember when I was a kid, they wanted to put expanders in my mouth, but my mom wanted a second opinion. So we went somewhere else. But it's just kind of cool to see that because like it makes more sense to go with the natural growth of the body rather than waiting for it all to set in.
Correct.
What is that? The roof of the mouth? The plate?
Palate.
Yeah, the palate when it like it's like that little soft spot on the top of their head. It
Exactly.
gets all stiff and then you're like trying to push everything around and it's painful.
So if an adult comes in 25, for example, with a real narrow arch, bilateral posterior crossbite, chronic mouth breather, maybe all those traits, and they need expansion, sometimes it's now surgically assisted expansion, we call it, where an oral surgeon has to make a few loosening cuts. We still put the expander in, but you need a little help now because those sutures, you were just talking, those growth sutures are fused. And, if you've ever seen a skull where it shows the intertwining sutures of the various bones of the head, the plates.
Yeah.
When you're young, they're just kind of straight and they'll separate, but they get all intertwined like, Velcro kind of thing. And you can't get them apart after a while.
I had a friend who did have to have that surgery because his parents couldn't afford the surgery before that or couldn't afford braces. And then as an adult, I remember he also had to gain weight because he was like to them underweight. So it was like a big old battle because he's like, no matter what I do, I don't gain weight. So I don't remember what he did, but he eventually did. And now he looks like a completely different person. It's insane how different his whole face looks now with that surgery.
Yeah.
And then
Toby had the expander, and Toby and I are very similar. Like he's my mini me. I looked exactly like him, or he looks like me, whatever at that age. And when he was kind of bummed out about having the expander in his mouth. And honestly, he was probably bummed out about it for a week, and then he totally forgot it was there. I mean, it was very comfortable. You guys did a great job with that. But when I would tell him, I was like, man, honestly, I had braces. I had braces twice. They took them off too early the first time, and then they had to put them back on. That was a whole different story. But I did tell him, I was like, I wish my parents would have gotten an expander for me, because I do feel like did you call it the arch, whatever in there? I do feel like mine is very narrow, and it definitely hinders some of the breathing situation. And for Toby, because I know what he's going to grow into and just have a big face like me, a big head. And I was like, you're gonna appreciate that expander later on in life. Trust me. And I think he was heeding my word a little bit during that. But let's jump a little bit to the beginning. Sorry, to answer your question from earlier. This is really it. We just we wanted to feel very much like having a casual conversation in somebody's living room. It's very, very much like that. Dr. Crawford, you started in Kenosha, Crawford Orthodontics?
Yep.
And you've been doing it for a good while now, right?
Yes.
Since
you
when?
want years?
Yeah.
Well, I graduated, I graduated from high school, Trumper High School in 1975.
Awesome.
And went up to Marquette, did undergrad, dental school, which is 4 years after undergrad. Then got out and practiced with my father, who was a general dentist. He's passed away a number of years ago now, at age 90. He had a good life. Went back after 1 year. We had a little baby girl at the time, who was a doctor, right? I commuted to Marquette for 2 years to the graduate orthodontic program because I didn't want to move back there. We had a new baby. And plus, my dad was a dentist, so I was working like 2 nights and Saturday mornings. I'd come home, hustle home after getting done at 5 o'clock at Marquette, and I'd have a 6 o'clock patient, and I'd work like 6 to 9.
Wow.
Couple nights a week and Saturday morning. So I kind of worked my way through graduate school, but then limited my practice to ortho in 1985. So I've been practicing 41 years. It'll be this year, 43, 44 as a general, as a dentist. I finished in 82 dental, 85 ortho.
So this is truly generational.
It is.
That's so cool. When I didn't put it together, obviously, because of the last name, but when I finally kind of saw the storyline, I was like, and now knowing that your father was also in dentistry, that's inspiring. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I always wanted to be and thought I'd be a general dentist with my dad.
Yeah.
And then when I got out of school, there was a retiring orthodontist, Dr. Dave Baumgartner, who was friends with my dad, and he'd run into me and say, John, go back to school.
Sure.
We need an orthodontist. He couldn't get anybody to take his practice back then, American Motors was like the main. We were kind of a factory town, not a great image to some people saying, I want to move to the Garden City of Kenosha. So I decided to apply to graduate school, and I specialized. I had a younger brother, 4 years younger than me, that was in dental school. So I thought he can take over my dad's practice someday. Gave me the opportunity to make a lateral move into ortho. And I don't have any regrets. It's been a great thing.
How long have you been at that location?
Forever. My dad's built that office was a residence in around 1972 or so he built. I remember being in 8th grade or so and working on the office and everything. And then when I got back to town for 1 year, I worked in his office, but immediately made plans to add on to the back of it and kind of doubled the space that he had. So
that front office was the original building?
That was the general dentist, and it still is.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I added on once, and then I think it was 1999, I added on again as our practice grew and staff grew.
Yeah. Heather, I don't know if you've ever been to that area. It's off of Cooper, north or south of 80th. One of those.
North of 80th.
North of 80th.
Yeah, like one block.
I love that Cooper Road. That road through there, because there's a lot of mature trees. Some of the houses are even nestled into long driveways.
It's all Pleasant Prairie, so it's got kind of that rural ditch.
I love it.
Cooper Road has deep lots all the way down pretty much.
Yes, yeah.
And now it's going to go through at the far on 93rd, which is going to be nice, all the way through to Highway 165.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
They're building more houses down there.
Of course they are, yeah.
Of course.
I see that every day on my way to the rec in the mornings.
Yeah.
That's just booming right there off of that 165 area.
Yeah.
Just because I'm nosy and curious, how much of that is y'all's? Like, I know that the dentistry office, the office is, and then there's like a house that's like to the right. There's like a path that goes through those. Are those connected?
Somewhat. Not the house anymore. So a number of years ago, I bought the house next door. They were patients and they were going to move. He was a firefighter. They were going to Oshkosh. And I thought, wow, it'd be kind of nice to own the neighbor so we wouldn't have issues with anything, parking, whatever, noise. So for many years, it was a rental house that I owned, but we subdivided the lot, cut it in half because it was real wide, and made a little employee parking lot. That's where the bridge goes.
Oh, gotcha.
And then a number of, maybe, I don't know if it's been 5 years or so, I didn't want the rental house. I didn't want to be a landlord anymore. So I sold it, I think some people moved out, and that triggered me to say, let me really fix this up. It really needed it. Spent almost a year rehabbing it and then sold it to a nice young lady with 2 kids.
Oh.
So we kept the garage.
Sure.
And that's but I built another garage for the rental house. So they have a garage, but there's a kind of a beigey white garage there that is part of our office, and we store stuff in there.
I love it. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Like, if you ever get over there, it definitely has at least for me and I'm sorry, Dr. Wright, I don't know your age frame, but for me, there's very much this nostalgia of the 90s wooden kind of, it just feels like going to your uncle's house.
Yeah.
I love it when we're in there. It really does have
all the
nice
windows,
feeling.
The treatment windows face north.
Yes.
If you haven't been in there. So we never have sun in our eyes. We get to look out at wildlife, and the windows kind of go down almost to the ground. So you can see squirrels running around.
Yeah, there's some squirrel feeders back there.
We've seen turkeys walk through. We've had deer.
Yeah.
A coyote swiped one of our squirrels the other day. It was a bit traumatic.
No.
Like in front of you guys?
It was a non-patient day, but our staff took some pictures. They're like, oh no, look at the guy.
Like, Tony, the squirrel is gone.
And of course, my dad's like, you should post that. I'm like, really? It was just a temporary story. We're like, we'll give it 24 hours. It's too traumatic to have it up permanently.
Oh, man.
Well, there are a lot of squirrels. They get hit running across the street, too.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Interesting about the history of that. Mrs. Funk owned the White House, the farmhouse.
Yes.
And I was told that was like the 4th oldest home in Pleasant Prairie. The basement had a lot of parts to it, and it was kind of leaky. Before I sold it, I worked with EverDry to finally get it dry and all that stuff. But that has kind of a historic, and Mrs. Funk's daughter was Betty Riley from Chuck and Betty Riley from Riley Construction. So Chuck Riley started Riley Construction, and now his kids have taken it to quite a grand level. But
Yeah.
there's a real history there. Used to be a chicken coop, used to be a farm. That was a farmhouse for that
Sure.
whole area.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
So
cool.
It's really pretty. If you ever get down that way,
I'll make sure I get
go the
that way.
long way home. You would.
Well, I mean, like the long way home right now is Green Bay.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I live right across the street from the Jelly Belly factory.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm like in all of the construction,
Ugh.
which is, it's not that bad. But like I was telling Julia the other day, I was like, I know I shouldn't complain because my drive is only 10 minutes, but this construction sucks.
Well, if you veer down Cooper and take it to the end by Anton's, where they're building all those homes, you can turn right on, what is that, 93rd?
Right.
And it swerves around to over by the Jelly Belly factory.
Okay.
I don't know if you can kind of
Goes
picture
past
that.
Ingram Park
Yeah, Ingram
and
Park.
curves and kind of runs right into
Yeah.
the Jelly Belly.
Because I take that way to the Recplex.
Okay.
So I know that street very well.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. There you go. We're over. You said Tremper. My oldest, Leon. You guys see Leon as well. Speaking of Leon, I just remembered orthodontics. Leon. He's on wearing his bands. Okay. Anyway,
Let's call him.
yeah, we should. Look who I'm here
Oh,
with right
Leon.
now. Yes. Yeah, we're gonna record a message
Let's do
before you guys leave.
FaceTime
Yes,
with
we're gonna do
him.
that.
Some-
He's going to Tremper next year, and I went to Bradford, but Tremper is such. We've lived in this house. We actually just purchased it from my parents. It's kind of south in that area, and we're excited about the Tremper lifestyle. Did you go to Tremper?
I did,
Yeah?
yes. And
All right.
we have one at Tremper right now.
Do you?
And we have an 8th grade boy going to Tremper next year.
Okay, so
he
they're
and Leon are the same
probably
age.
going to be in the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah,
Where
we
does your
really
8th
like
grader
it.
go?
He's at All Saints now. We
Okay.
have
Yeah.
some at All Saints, and we actually have 4 at All Saints right now and 1 at Tremper.
Okay,
Holy cow.
So we're slowly
moving them over.
moving
to-
them over.
Does All Saints not go into a high school
It
year?
doesn't.
Oh, okay.
It ends at 8th grade.
Yeah. I get
So-
that. No, that makes sense. Which one is? Oh, St. Joe's.
Joe is where
Right.
is
Yeah.
many
the,
people
Yep.
go, but
Yep.
her kids are swimmers, so they kind of need a pool. That's
Yeah.
their
There-
sport.
there's a
Tremper's got a pool.
very
St. Joe's
cool.
does.
And there's something special about a high school athletic experience.
Very much so.
You know, like I know there are many high schools that are charter schools and they're fantastic schools, but then the kids have to get bussed somewhere else or
Yeah, or they don't have the experience at
Right,
all of a
right,
sport. Yes,
right.
yeah.
So that's something that we wanted our kids to have. And I think
I love
since, my dad went to Tremper, I went to Tremper, we had good experiences there. We
Yeah.
wanted our and we're in the district. So
We
it's
both
like,
went to Lance.
Oh, did
You
you?
went to Whittier. I went to Forest Park. But yeah, we're Kenosha home.
yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
are.
Yeah, very much in that area. That's
Yeah.
that's our area now, and we're very much planting roots there. Didn't look like this maybe a decade ago when we were still living in Dallas, Texas, but Kenosha's always been home, and we came back, started little line cuts here, and
Were
hopefully
you born and raised here?
I was born and raised
Yeah.
here. Do you remember a Dr. Hers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Hers was my orthodontist.
He lived, he's passed away now, right on Cooper Road. Just
There
right
is a
down the street.
Dr. Hers plaque on one of the roads
Yeah.
or one of the driveways.
Yeah, that's where he lived.
I wondered if that was
Yeah.
the
He
same.
erected his own sign.
Uh,
He was a character.
I would too.
you know, the
For his
little
driveway, he put like
yeah.
hers way.
It says hers way or something. Yeah.
I bet his wife liked that.
Yeah.
I do remember him being a bit of a character.
we always got along great. He was really a good, common sense, smart guy.
Good.
Very friendly. He invited me to his house. I think maybe it was when I was getting out of my ortho residency,
Yeah.
and I was kind of excited because I knew him from family and stuff, and I thought he was going to invite me to come into his practice,
Okay.
and he didn't, which was okay. It turned out fine, but he pretty much was saying, "You're going to do great. Good luck. If I can help you in any
Aw.
way." It was more of a cheerleading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go get him, buddy.
Very
He'll do
supportive.
fine.
Championing
Yeah,
you.
instead of saying, "Come on in with me."
Yeah.
So he was always a really good colleague.
I love that. Yeah. We need more of that. Actually.
yeah.
right.
He
We
lived
were
well into his
right.
90s.
speaking about that earlier because, like, in a lot of industries, you're like, would you consider dentistry like a service?
Yeah,
Yeah.
professional service.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, in a lot of these industries,
Service industry. Yep.
yeah, we're taught to be competitive. We're taught to be like, get them while,
Mhm.
or scoop them up or screw them over or whatever. And that is something that has always bothered me in the, at least like the hair industry, is like if you leave a salon, they're like you basically are a traitor. You get cut off from the computer. You're asked to leave before your shift is over so that you don't steal any of their clients. And it's like, it shouldn't be like that. It should be everyone helping each other. And
they probably don't sign covenants not to compete. Can they do non-compete clauses? And
so they used to. So it depends.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're doing. But for the most part, it is like, especially in Illinois, if you don't make over a certain amount of money, a non-compete will not be applicable. So like my old company had me sign one, but by the time I was done anyway, that non-compete wouldn't have been able to be like push through because I didn't make enough money for
that. Makes sense.
You have to have it's like a, what do they call it? A living wage like whatever.
I think Wisconsin, because I actually just had a meeting with another business owner friend of mine. I think Wisconsin might be a little more lenient with the non-competes because at lunch that day, he asked me, I don't know, we started talking about past employees or if they've moved on. And he was like, do you make them sign non-competes or NDAs?
You don't make them sign anything.
Or any of that. I know, you guys barely have paperwork here. And I was like, no, I mean, I've just... For me in particular, I've always wanted to be the kind of leader that people felt seen by.
They don't want to leave.
And they don't want to leave. But at the same time, not to also take advantage of the good work, right? The good workers that we've found. And I think so far, at least Heather can tell you if I'm fibbing, but so far we've had a pretty nice run with the employees that we've had. And if they have to leave, knock on wood, if they have to leave, it's always been on good terms. When one of our girls left, we did a whole social media shout out, told people how to book with her, where to find her.
That's nice.
Somewhere else. And that actually splashed a little bit on the interwebs because a lot of people in our industry were like, this is how you do it. No one does this. This is very admirable, that kind of thing. And I was like, guys, it's human decency.
Well, her clients are going to probably find her. I mean, teeth, like hair, are very personable.
Sure.
And if a dentist moves to a different office, assuming it's not too far away, a lot of patients will follow. And how can a covenant not to compete? You just can't solicit. They're usually like a non-solicitation clause. Doesn't mean they show up at your new salon that you can't say, I'm sorry, I can't cut your hair.
Well,
I'm in trouble.
Usually with a non-compete with a salon, it's like mileage. So you can't work within a 40-mile radius of this hair salon for 2 years is what mine was, I think. I just read something online. This woman was asking for advice because she signed a non-compete with so she was working at a salon and they changed ownership and the new owners were upset when she decided to leave. And it was like originally on good terms, but then her clients followed her. And so now they pulled out this really ancient from when she first started on saying, you can't take our clients because you have this non-compete. And so now she's having a hard time working because she has to say no to certain people because they were affiliated with the old salon or something like that. I didn't really look too much into it, but I do think that's pretty crappy. Yeah. And that says a lot about
how they could follow up on that and know.
Sure. Yeah,
where are you getting?
Of course.
You didn't go down to Sophia, did you?
Well, and that's the thing is like I could totally see some people in their car waiting to see who walks in and out. Photographic proof.
Oh, gosh.
Because we had one lady who, when she left, she was mad. She came back and she used silicone in all the locks. So she siliconed her back door, put it inside the lock, and then tried to do the front. And so no one could really get into the shop. They had to
That's just straight vandalism, though.
It is. And the worst part is like the owners are really, 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 really too nice. Or the old owners were, because they were like, well, she's obviously unwell and we shouldn't do anything. We're just going to pretend it didn't happen, just change the locks. And it's like, no, I would press charges because maybe that'll be her wake up call.
Yeah.
That's a little crazy.
Well, I mean, competition in our industry, I think that we're all really friendly, like our colleagues. I mean, and patients do come for second opinions and sometimes third opinions. Maybe that's just where we are right now.
Sure.
I think when my dad first started practicing, before the internet and social media and, getting all these suggestions from your Facebook friends on where to go.
Of course, yeah.
Patients would go where their dentist referred them. And they had the yellow pages and they, had a choice of like 2 orthodontists in town. And now there's a selection.
Yeah.
But we're super friendly and collegial with all the other orthodontists in town. And
Are there a lot now? In town?
There might be like 7 or 8.
Wow,
We're not
okay.
always sure who's, I don't know if I should name names, but who's
it's fine.
Associates.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
it's fine.
It can be kind of a revolving door, but
Yeah.
and we always try to, like sometimes patients will come in asking about different plans and we're always just real careful. It's like,
Sure.
I can't speak to what your other opinion said.
Of course.
I can only tell you what I would do.
Yes.
And if this feels right to you, we'd love to have you as our patient. If, you're welcome to do whatever you want, but nobody
course.
likes a hard sell.
No.
Like
Yeah.
if you sign up today, we'll give you, it's like, no.
Free haircut.
Free haircut. Yeah. That'll be our next collaboration.
Nobody likes that.
the little lines.
No. Well, and that's something that I feel like also comes with higher education too. Whereas like a lot of the girls that are coming out of beauty school, not to knock anybody, I didn't graduate from college. I dropped out. But you get this mentality of knocking someone else down to encourage your own work. And that just hurts you in the end. And then again, with all the social media stuff, with people wanting to go on there and saying like, oh, they did this, they messed up this way, they did that, they did this. And sometimes it's not even the stylist's fault. And for other stylists to chime in on that, it just feels icky. But also like they're like for example, he's not wearing his rubber bands, but you guys gave him this prescription to wear the rubber bands. Or like I had a retainer that I was supposed to wear at night, but I don't have a nighttime routine. So it never went in my mouth at night. So like there are all these different things that someone else, like that the patient themselves could be doing to cause this issue. And now they're going to go on the internet and blast it.
Right.
And I'm hoping that no professional would go in there and be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that they would do that to
That's
you.
also the unfortunate, just part of, we always call it the human variable, right? You can't control what you can't control. And I think even past or adjacent to you guys being professionals in your industry, you're also business owners, right? Like there's also a sense of that. And we feel that here 100%. I was going to ask Dr. Wright, well, how did you kind of follow in your dad's footsteps? And how many kiddos are there?
There are 3 of us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are they all in
My brother is, yeah.
Very cool.
So I'm the oldest of 3, and
you have older sibling energy. I can feel that. Yeah.
the responsible one, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
The other 2 are pretty responsible too.
That's good.
But yeah, I actually didn't think that I wanted to be a dentist because my grandpa was a dentist, my uncle was a dentist, my dad was, an orthodontist, my aunt was a hygienist.
Wow.
And I thought, there's enough already.
Sure.
I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go to medical school, or I studied nutrition science. I really liked I still love like the nutrition, functional medicine, like all of that.
I love that
aspect of things. But after shadowing a bunch of physicians and being in hospitals, and I just realized it really wasn't for me. That was not at all what I wanted to get into. And I loved that in dentistry, you can fix the problem right there.
Yeah.
Like you are in more control over the solution than I think in the majority of medicine.
Of course.
Where like you have to rely on the patient to do what you're telling them to do.
Yeah.
Unless you're maybe a surgeon. But the whole medicine model just wasn't like jiving with me. Whereas I really love dentistry. And even after I've working with my hands. I'm a hands person. I like to make jewelry and do artwork and paint and draw and stuff. So it worked out well for me, that science and art balance. But even then I wasn't thinking orthodontics. And it wasn't until like my 2nd or 3rd year of dental school that my dad said, yeah, at some point, I might get an associate. And that's when I'm like, what? Like, this is like my second home. You can't just get an associate. Who are you thinking?
Sure.
And so that's
my territory.
Maybe I should go to ortho residency. So, and I loved orthodontics as well. It just wasn't why I went to dental school.
She worked for me when she was in high school doing sterilization, and
I was going to
She
say,
was a
I
clinical
knew you were
assistant,
in there.
So she knew the
Mhm.
business.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
She knew what it involved.
Yeah. And a lot of times that experience, honestly, you could pluck someone straight out of a different background, put them in the same schooling, the same everything, and you're still going to be 10 steps ahead because you had all of these experiences growing up. Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. So that was kind of nice. And then we worked together, and my husband was cool enough to move to Kenosha.
Okay.
He's not from the area. So
From where?
just Milwaukee.
Oh,
I mean, it wasn't like a
that doesn't
move,
count.
but he lived in Chicago. So it was more of a city thing that he was into. And but he moved to Kenosha and loves it. So
Very cool.
that's good.
That's
Yeah.
always a good plan.
That's
Same
good.
with my wife when we were dating. She was from Wauwatosa. And again, I told you how Kenosha had kind of this factory image, and driving into town was way different looking than it is now, like on Highway 50.
Of course.
But it was, kind of like, where are all the trees? And
Yeah.
And I grew up here, so it was what it was to me. But she had to know right away, if you stick with me, we're living in Kenosha. That's where my dad, because I thought I was going to be a general dentist. But
Yeah.
but it's a great town. All you need is a handful of really good friends, and obviously you feel right at home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No matter where you live.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, very much so. My wife is a Dallas, Texas transplant. And so we're still, I mean, we feel like just now into almost a decade of being back in Kenosha, we're starting to dabble in being a little bit more rooted here. But at the same time, yeah, she would prefer, I think she does prefer Wisconsin to Texas, only because she's not a fan of heat.
It's real hot down there.
Yeah, she's not a big fan. How long have you been working there now? How long have you been?
This is my 15th year, actually. So June 2nd is when I started,
Wow.
2011.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is 15 years, which is wild.
Nice.
Mhm.
I don't know if you mentioned when we were at our last appointment, and if we don't want to put this in the recording, we can edit it.
Yeah.
A new associate starting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we don't mind if you have this in the,
Awesome.
It's public knowledge now at this point.
Okay.
So we teach at Marquette. My dad and I do Thursdays. We're part-time faculty.
Wow.
And
okay.
we've worked with a lot of residents over the years, and not to say anything negative about anybody that we've ever worked with, but when Cam came along, Dr. Young, he's one of the residents up there, we just really felt this kinship, and
Sure.
like there was just this,
When you know, you know.
yeah, I was just like, just from, his ethics, his personality, he's just a good person, and you can't teach somebody that.
Of
Yeah.
course.
You can teach hand skills, you can teach, orthodontics, and he's learning orthodontics, but there's still a lot to learn even when you get out of school.
Yeah.
But you can't teach somebody how to be an ethical, good, kind person.
Sure.
And, my dad is not retiring anytime soon, but I mean, someday it's
I'll cut back a
inevitable.
little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to
Listen,
say, you can cut back a little bit.
You've earned it.
I'm
Right.
69 now. I don't mind saying that.
No, yeah, not a day over
Don't do the math
45.
and figure it out. So I like what I do, but I think when Dr. Young comes in, I might cut out one day. I work Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays now. We
Mhm.
teach at Marquette every other Thursday, but I get a long weekend for something like 40 years as a dentist and orthodontist. I worked every other Saturday
Mhm.
and every Friday, except for holidays or vacations. But I planned my life really around Saturdays. And even
Yeah.
when my kids were young and I was a soccer coach, I worked till noon on these Saturdays. Sometimes I'd miss my own game. I was the coach
Mm-hmm.
because they booked it at 10:30 in the morning. And so, well, I let my assistant coach do it. But life went on. I missed
Sure.
some things, but it was a big commitment. And that's a commitment we have. I think we might be the only orthodontist in town that works Saturdays.
Wow.
Not
Okay.
positive, but I think.
Yeah.
And we're trying to cater to the parents that say, I can't come in during
Of
the week.
course.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of
sure.
Illinois families that come up.
Wow.
But even
But-
we have some from Door County. We have college students that'll come in. They're going to school in Eau Claire or La Crosse or wherever, and Saturdays are their day. So it's a lot of. We have a family that moved to Kansas, and they keep coming back to see us because they didn't want to transfer. So there's a lot of
They take a
variety on
hot air
Saturday
balloon.
mornings.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful though? Because
To know that you're like,
Yeah.
you're part of their lives
Yeah.
like no matter what.
That puts
Yeah.
some wind in your
They'd like you
stay.
to
That's cool.
finish
That's
what
really
you
cool.
started.
Yeah,
And
of
if you're
course.
willing to come
Yeah.
back, we are flattered and happy to finish. I mean, we can stretch out the appointments
Yeah.
and make
Yeah.
it work.
Well, that speaks to you guys as business owners and as professionals. We see a little bit of that too. We have families who have moved away for either business or pleasure, but at the same time, a lot of them, they'll come when they're in town. They're like, we kind of plan our visits around when we need haircuts, and that's always really sweet to come across.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people. Well, I used to work in Deerfield and Wilmette, so I have a handful of people who still come up here for haircuts. And then I had one family. They were in town visiting family, and they're from LA, and they come back for haircuts with me. So it's really fun to have that little like.
Well, you've also been doing this for a long time, and I think like you guys, she's got, I call them kiddos, but they're in college now or adults that she started cutting as children.
I'm gonna be
That's
scared
cool.
of when they start having babies though, because I'm like,
that means time
wild.
is moving
I
a
know.
little too quickly.
I know because now this is my 15th year. So some of the kids that I was treating when I just got out of school in 2011 now are graduating college, getting married. Some are having kids. And I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
yes,
I don't feel that old, but
No.
like, how are you an
Sure.
attorney now?
yes,
You know, like,
Yeah.
exactly.
when did that happen?
Exactly.
You're a whole adult.
Yeah,
That's
this
what
is
it is.
real.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
That's-
very cool though. And
You know, Raphael and Heather, I want to mention something you both mentioned about retention and your teeth. I remember you said, well, the first time I had my brace, they took them off too soon, so they put them back on.
Sure,
You
sure,
mentioned I didn't really wear my retainer. One big thing that I think has changed over the history of orthodontics is we do bonded retainers on the back of the teeth on almost everybody.
Yeah.
A fixed lingual wire that you can't see, plus an upper clear retainer, sometimes two if needed. And almost every teenager phases off of that upper clear pretty soon. They don't know where it is, like you said, Heather.
That's why mine was
but
glow in
their
the dark.
teeth still look good a lot of times because of this lingual wire. And our philosophy is we will fix it if it ever breaks for free. So, I mean, that's quite a commitment. And some people that have been treated somewhere else or have whatever knowledge of another office might say, well, how come the other orthodontist won't do that for me? Or there's an extra big fee. And all I can say is I think they don't want to make the commitment to you because you bond something to someone's teeth. You're kind of married to them now.
Yeah.
We get calls sometimes on a weekend. My wire broke. What do I do?
Mhm.
On almost every day because we've treated over the years thousands of people. There's a lot of wires running around Kenosha and the whole country that we put on there, and we're willing to fix them if they'll come back and see us.
Sure, of course.
That's been a big change. And then people come back, they might be 45 years old, 25 years or 30 out of braces, and their teeth still look great. And they want the wire fixed, not removed many times.
I have the wire in the bottom, and I usually don't mind it until like either A, we're having a conversation like this, and then I'm like, or after a fresh teeth cleaning, and it just feels there.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm cutting my tongue on it.
Because they got all the tartar over there.
Yes. Yes.
They
Yes.
cleaned it. Yeah.
Oh, otherwise, I love getting my teeth cleaned. Oh,
Yeah.
That's my favorite feeling.
But that's been a big difference, I think, in the profession is the ability to retain. And some people that go through a liner treatment in some places, they don't do that. They'll just say, now just wear your last set of aligners. Well, you know human nature.
Of course.
You might be good for 6 months, maybe a year or two.
Lucky if that.
But you tell somebody, well, I want you to wear these two pieces of plastic for the rest of your life. That's a tall ask.
Yeah.
You know? So we have to have balance with what's practical and what can be done.
Well, and it's because your teeth shift forward, right? As you get older.
Just that they can shift. You know, I always say to people, what other part of your body isn't going to change as you age? Look at grandma, how different she looks than when you were 16 or something.
Yes.
The body seems to want to, I hate to say shrivel up, but crowding and constricting and narrowing.
Well, the bone is always remodeling too. You know, our skeleton is always remodeling, and you notice it in your jaws because bone's deposited on one side and resorbed on the other, and the teeth move. And for years, dentists always blamed the wisdom teeth for causing that. But studies have shown that even in people that don't have wisdom teeth, their teeth still shift.
Wow,
but that dogma's still out there of wisdom teeth will shift your teeth.
Sure.
And they don't. But that's a hard myth to dispel.
That's good to know.
Say, I still have all, I don't have one, like it never did whatever it does, but I still have all mine. And I always wonder like, oh, should I have gotten those removed? But
I mean, there's other reasons to get them out.
like TMJ.
Yeah, and they can cause cysts or, they can grow into neighboring teeth, but they're not going to move your teeth.
Mm.
You
Okay,
know?
okay.
So
Good to know.
other good reasons to get wisdom teeth
Sure.
removed. Yeah.
Would you be pro removal?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Good to know.
okay.
as
Good
a
to know.
preventative measure. Yeah,
Okay.
usually after the age of 30, oral surgeons don't want to touch them because the risks outweigh the benefits.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, then I'm screwed.
like,
No,
then
me-
right,
The
then
sleeping
just-
dog line.
Yeah.
I'm attached to them. I named them. They're
My-
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yeah. My wisdom teeth and I have come a long way, and
Yeah.
they're just
Still in
now.
there? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I've always had like Toby, like my son. I've always had just kind of a big face, a big
Mhm.
facial structure, and they came in. When they came in, I think my dentist at the time was like, "That they're all right. I mean, just
Mhm.
clean
Well, that's right. We
them."
don't condemn
Yeah.
them on a
Mhm.
14 or 15. We say you might need them out someday. We're just planting the seed so that we told them that.
Yeah.
And then after they're done with ortho, it's not really our sole decision. The general dentist is going to mention
Sure.
things. They can always suggest an opinion at the oral surgeon, let them talk about it.
Yeah.
But we don't push it too hard. We just suggest.
Oh, of course.
Well, like we were talking about expanders earlier with
Yeah.
growth, the width is the first dimension to stop growing.
okay.
And then it's the front to back dimension. And that's how we get more room for those molars in the back.
Mm.
And the vertical dimension is last. And that finishes in like the early 20s. So, to my dad's point, if we finish a patient at the age of 14 or 15, we know they're still growing in the horizontal direction. And they might, like maybe you had room for your wisdom teeth to
Mhm.
fit. And thousands of years ago, humans had room for their wisdom teeth.
Sure.
Archaeologically, if you look at those skulls, all 32 teeth are in.
They weren't taking them out.
And they're straight.
yeah.
Yeah, people were not dying of impacted wisdom teeth,
Interesting.
They
yeah.
fit because the jaws used to grow longer. So
Oh wow.
this is so
That's
going deep.
fascinating.
Well, I was gonna
we're
say
going deep.
that's what's really cool about like different professions too, is where you guys are looking at the skull, and then you're looking back at your history of the skull, and you're looking at the way that things have changed over time. Because like even if you go, do you guys remember going to the Cuneo Museum in Vernon Hills?
No.
So it's a huge mansion. They filmed my best friend's wedding there, and you go through it, and they just show you what it looked like when it was first built. And these people used to live in this house and whatever. But if you look, every bed has a step stool onto it because, turn of the century, people were like a foot shorter than we are now. We're all getting really tall. So it's just fun to see how, like, it's natural selection. We're like, ooh,
Mhm.
that handsome man's almost 7 foot tall. I'm going to
Yeah.
go for that. I'm going to climb that
Yeah.
It's
tree.
all the hormones in the
Exactly.
chicken.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
chicken thighs.
Yeah.
We must be feeding our kids better, but isn't that interesting? Almost
Yeah.
my son's taller than me. It seems like all of his cousins are taller
Sure.
than their dads. But
Mhm.
where's this going to end?
Oh yeah, I'm curious to
Bunch of-
see. Like, I would love, we love to see a skeleton from, like let's say 1880,
Yeah.
and then pull out someone from now.
Yeah.
I think what Dr. Wright's talking about is way back when, for example, we didn't eat any processed food.
Sure, Yes. of
Everything that
course.
man and women had to chew was probably tough and rough. And so they think the muscles were bigger and the jaws were a little thicker and
Yeah.
longer. So it seems like to us that the third molar is an evolutionary tooth that's not needed anymore.
Mhm.
As you say, why would God give us another set of molars that we don't need?
Sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
we think hundreds, maybe millions
Well,
of years
yeah.
ago that we
did need them.
did use them and need them.
Yeah.
They're like a spare tire is what I often tell people now. You can leave them in, but it's like driving around with your car with 4 spare tires in the trunk.
Sure,
You're,
sure,
Yeah.
you're kind of jammed up back there.
Well, Grandpa used to send me articles. So my grandpa, even after he finished practicing dentistry, loved to read.
Mhm.
And he would get out his little red pen and send me in the mail articles, and he would underline the important parts. And I remember him sending me articles on these archaeological digs and the skulls that they would find, and with pictures of all teeth straight in the mouth.
Yeah.
And he was like, Jane, look at this is what, and this is thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Human skulls used to look like.
And are we attributing that just to the different bone structure that has changed over the years? Because you said maybe
It is
was a
kind
little
of, yeah,
longer.
evolutionarily, but we are eating different foods and form follows function. So when you're when there's pressure on a bone, it grows.
Sure.
Kind of like astronauts lose bone when they're out in outer space because
Sure.
there's no gravity.
Yeah.
And
They also get really constipated.
That I didn't know, but that makes sense. And
Nothing's moving.
but humans, like we've had patients on feeding tubes before, and like chronically on feeding tubes where their parents will bring them in. One brought him in a wheelchair, really narrow little jaws. They aren't using their jaws. They're not eating hard food. So if you don't use your jaws, they don't develop. And
it's kind of like
we are eating softer foods.
When you don't use rubber bands, they get brittle and they don't work anymore.
Right.
Sense. Oh, that's
So we did used to have to gnaw our foods, really, really, really work those muscles,
Sure.
And the theory is that the jawbones used to grow longer because of the pressure.
Wow.
Ooh. Like the evil genius in me wants to do an experiment, just like raise children to like, you're going to chew really rough food.
One was soft and one was tough.
And some of it is genetics now. Now we've kind of evolved to have smaller jaws where give kids whatever they, if you give them turkey thighs when they're 1 year old, they still might not grow.
Sure.
To accommodate wisdom teeth.
But also like the genetic part where it's like, we prefer a certain look. So we're going to go for those looks.
Yeah.
Just like, what is it? Like the baby face is so, big eyes, pouty lips. And so we're going that way. And if we're not surgically enhancing it, then we're going to find someone who has that.
That's
and then
true.
our offspring will have that.
That's true. So the short human with the huge head is probably not as attractive these days as the 6'3" man with a
tiny jawline.
Yeah.
Or like
that's one way to put it, I suppose. Yeah.
What was his Zac Efron had a huge surgery. So he had an accident and he had a reconstructive jaw surgery. I also had a cousin who got into a horrific car accident, was like wearing an erector set, and she had to have her jaw redone. Now she lives in England and she had braces because after they were done with the surgery, her teeth were all over the place. So they just fixed that too. And then Zac Efron, his jaw was like enormous while it was healing.
It's very different now, yeah.
But no, it's actually gone down.
Oh, has it?
It's like it's not as swollen, like the muscles aren't as swollen anymore, I guess. But it's just so interesting that one, the thicker jawline looks a certain way to us too. Because like when Zac Efron came out with that big old chin, everyone was like, what the hell happened to you? Like, oh no, surgery's gone too far. But in reality, he had a big car accident, so I feel bad.
Yeah.
When it comes to the practice, being a father-daughter duo, are there any things that maybe, Dr. Wright, you would much rather maybe handle, or that you bring to the table a little bit more finesse to, or maybe Dr. Crawford? How do you guys kind of complement each other when it comes to the practice?
My dad is very business-minded. He's a numbers guy.
Okay.
He loves, he was on a bank board for a while. And so all of these real technical
for a while,
number, a little bit of time.
Years.
And I say to him, how do you know this?
Sure.
Because you don't have to take business classes to be a dentist. And I think you electively took some business classes, but he likes to read on these things.
Sure.
So lucky for me, he's very good at the numbers and the business side of things. I am really good at marketing and promotions. And I mean, obviously there's the stuff that goes along with just our job on a daily basis, but I'm, trying, I think, to get out there a little bit more. Because that's an aspect of orthodontics that is different than some of the other dental specialties. Like when you go to your dentist, they're your dentist your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But from an ortho perspective, after a year, our patients kind of cycle out.
Sure,
and we
have a
need new patients.
revolving door.
So if we don't stay relevant in the community, like I said, it was just yellow pages and a shingle on your door when my dad started. And now you have to be so present, which is exhausting.
Yes,
It's
it is.
so exhausting.
And I don't like that aspect of it at all.
I
would be
life.
really pleasant not to be on social media and just live my little life. But you have to be present.
But word of mouth is still, even for you guys, the number one thing.
Yeah.
The cool thing about Jane and I is really, I can honestly say in 15 years, we have never had a fight, if you want to call it that.
In our whole life.
Sure.
Or an argument. So I think I was gracious enough to accept some new ideas or thoughts, give her the freedom of some
You
of
let
that.
me paint the wood.
Oh, no.
But she was...
You never paint the wood.
Yeah.
Painted some wood.
But I'm talking about orthodontics here.
No, sure.
Decorating. But also, she respected my knowledge and experience, and for the most part, came in and did things the way I was doing it so that we had continuity of care.
Yeah.
So right now we can sit down like we've done with your kids. Either one of us can sit down.
Sure.
It's written in the chart what we were planning to do today, and we have a similar philosophy. So it's not like it's having a whole new orthodontist.
Yeah.
But it's cool that another pair of eyes can sometimes look at it and say, you know, whether we talk privately later, like I think we should pivot a little on this or we should do this or that. But we really work well together. I think that's
it's the
biggest
respect that you have for each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge.
That says a big thing because, like, even here, I respect everyone who works here because I know they're hard worker. I know that they're doing their best, and like I trust everybody. Like you trust her to take over your client when, like, oh, I'm running behind here. Can you go grab that one for me?
And we don't have really many his or hers patients
Sure.
when they come in. You're coming into our practice. We're a team. We do have a way of labeling a chart if they have a preference.
Yeah.
Some people do. And it's not that they refuse to see the other. It's just they have a preference.
Sure.
Oh,
sure.
totally.
That's cool. You know,
Yeah.
like, I'm sure you maybe like the same person to cut your hair every time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's even, I think, a little more personal
A little bit.
because
And it's exhausting.
you do start to finish the whole thing in 45 minutes or whatever.
15.
We're
15.
we're 15 minutes. Yeah.
Nice.
Half hour, what? Oh,
Yeah.
15 for the little kids.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, a basic haircut.
A basic, yeah. It's
Yeah.
not to say we're churning and burning, but
Right.
there is. When Heather came in, she kind of structured a little bit more of what the business side of this would look like.
Yeah.
But no, I feel you 1,000%. I've said it a couple of times on social media for the irony is I wish I could just run a business. I wish we could just have a successful business. But if you don't stay present, if you're not ever present on people's minds, you just kind of fall to the wayside, even though we have a decent clientele. We have a pretty good returning client base. Like I would say, and knock on wood, but we're blessed and fortunate enough to have a decent clientele that keeps us afloat. But also, you got to be out there. You got to be doing this dog and pony show, and that's exhausting for sure. So we feel you on that. But I also appreciate I think I'm somewhere in the middle of you guys. I love a little bit more of just kind of like a old school feel and tactic of things, but having to give in to some of the newer things that we have to do now on social media.
But the number one thing I bet we'd all agree on is you have to do a good job.
Yes.
Because that's what, I mean, you could have all the marketing in the world and
Of
it'll
course.
seem like flimsy or deceptive if it's like, yeah, but when you go in there, it's not what they make it seem like.
Sure.
So you have to do it. Number one is a good job that people will say good things about you. That's
of course.
biggest practice builder and business builder.
Mm-hmm.
People say, well, who do you go to? And you're either going to say something good or neutral or not so good. And that's what keeps you on your toes.
Also how you make people feel. Because, you know, I've had my share of medical experiences where they make you feel, I don't know,
like
bad,
a burden?
guilty. Yeah,
Yes.
like a burden. Sometimes they won't make eye contact with you. You know, like they're sighing, like they're squeezing you in. And it's like, I'm sorry, am I inconveniencing you? Like,
sure.
yes.
Yeah.
and they don't, you know, like as the patient or the client, you might not remember the excellent haircut or the fantastic job they did on your teeth. But if you leave feeling bad,
Yes.
Yeah.
you don't want to go back or
Yeah,
you don't
of
want to
course.
refer your friends. So we kind of want both of those things to be there, the excellent, you know, result and excellent treatment, but also make people feel good and respect them
Yes.
and, you know,
Feel heard.
exactly.
Because that's one thing we talked about. We had an incident recently and we were talking about it. And I said, well, one of the big things too is like people want to be heard, even if they're in the wrong. Like certain situations, they're just like if someone misses the entire appointment time that you guys have set for them and they come in and you're like, I totally get it. These are the options that I can give you. But if you just dismiss them like, no, you're late. You're late. Sorry. Bye.
We have to reschedule.
We have to reschedule. That's it. There's nothing.
Now they're angry.
Now they're angry.
Sure.
Now they're pissed off. Now they're going to tell everybody and their mom because more people do like to complain than they do like to
Leave good reviews.
Well,
Absolutely.
So it is, and that's one thing that I know for myself. Like, if I'm gonna write a review, it's always a good review. I always like to make a good review for people, and then like if there is an issue, I want to talk to you directly about it because, you know, I want to give you the opportunity to either A, you didn't know what's happening because you don't know Like you trust your staff, but you don't always know what happened between the two of them or misunderstandings.
Sure.
And you want to talk to that person and see what they said and how it went for them, or watch the video. But, but yeah, like if people don't feel heard, if they don't feel valued, they're not going to want to come back to you. Like I know with the kids here, I always try to make them feel special.
Yes.
Like for some kids, we've said this before, like with our business, at least, there are people that can, and then people who have to.
Mm-hmm.
There are kids who have to come here because nowhere else will take them, and their parents want them to have a good haircut. And it is sometimes a harder haircut to do, but if I can, like for my own selfishness, I love turning those kids around and making it easier for them, because in the end, I want you to be able to go wherever you can go. But if you can come here, I love to have you come back here.
Sure. Yeah.
And then with your guys too, like kids are that's going to be childhood trauma. You don't want to be the childhood trauma.
Nope.
No.
Of the little girl from Nemo who has all the big...
Wait,
I'm a piranha.
Is it Dory? No, that's the fish.
No, her name is crud. I can't remember her name. She's got red hair.
Yeah.
But then she says, I'm a piranha. I come from the Amazon.
I'm going to think of that name later.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
You're going to be like, dang, that name.
Well, I don't want to keep you guys too long. You have been very gracious with your time today. But would you guys be able to maybe expound on a couple of misconceptions maybe that people believe about general dentistry, or even dental on orthodontics, but even general dentistry, like something that comes to mind where maybe people are apprehensive about coming to see an orthodontic or to see you guys? Anything?
Well, I think a lot of people, the general public, is often confused on some of the dental specialties.
Okay. Yeah.
And they might be more knowledgeable about medical differences. Like you have your GP, then, you have your spine surgeon, you have your radiologist.
Sure.
And orthodontics is a specialty of dentistry, but there are quite a few dentists now dabbling in orthodontics.
Okay.
But I think sometimes the general public doesn't always know their level of experience or training.
Sure.
And certain companies are really targeting dentists to do more ortho, do more ortho.
Yeah.
And so patients, I think, don't always know. And some dentists are good at doing some limited orthodontic cases, but as the patient, you don't always know.
Sure.
So, I mean, we just always think, and I know we are orthodontists, but it's usually better to go to the specialist and see somebody who has 2 to 3 years of additional training and didn't.
Yeah. And it's all we do. I mean,
I was going to say, with
you
you
get to
guys,
see it all.
You guys have been doing it through generations.
Chick-fil-A, chicken, I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah.
So not
all
only
day,
were you
every day.
specialty trained in it, but when you do, every patient you see is having orthodontics. You're not going from a root canal to a crown to a cleaning to a, now what am I doing now? This
Sure, of
patient's
course.
got braces on or has aligners,
Yeah.
There's an old, it's a saying that I've heard a couple entrepreneurs say, because I love just learning about business and that kind of thing, that they say the riches are in the niches. And so when you kind of have those niche markets, that's where people feel like you're coming to a specialist, right? You guys know exactly what you're doing. You're not, like you said, you're not dabbling in 3 other things. This is what you guys specialize in.
Another misconception in dentistry and in ortho is that insurance dictates where you go. So sometimes we'll say to somebody, do you still go to Dr. Smith? Oh, no, we don't go there anymore. They don't take our insurance. Now we go to Dr. Jones. That's maybe not completely true. Some of the insurance companies have a PPO, preferred provider, kind of list of dentists, and the price might be a little better for you if you go there, but it doesn't mean you can't go to your dentist who's out of network, and you might have a slightly larger copay.
Okay.
But to say we can't go there now, or no, they don't take my insurance, like, yeah, we take it, and you can come here unless your insurance company says you have to go somewhere else.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they don't usually do that. There's certainly freedom of choice. You might have a slightly larger copay. Some people are going places, they don't really like it, but they kind of say that's where we have to go.
Yeah.
That's not really true.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little misconception. I hate to hear them say they don't take my insurance, because I don't believe that that almost any dental office will take any insurance.
Yeah.
It's only if the insurance won't send money to the dental office.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a closed panel, we call it, like, some big clinic garners a contract and everyone
Sure.
has to go there or they get nothing.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how people sometimes pay out of pocket. That's like, I'm not going there. I don't like
Yes.
care.
I would rather pay out of pocket, like, than insurance just really bothers me
Yeah.
because like I have a limited insurance right now. So I went to my general practitioner for my yearly physical and I could have paid less if I didn't have insurance than if I had insurance. And then I'm also paying every month the same amount.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this shouldn't have cost this much, especially since it's like a yearly thing that's preventative medicine.
Mhm.
And same thing with dental. Like I'm a firm believer. Also, childhood trauma. My mom was obsessed with our teeth. She would sit on my brother and brush his teeth at night to make sure that they were correctly brushed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the braces, everything else that we had, we religiously went and got our teeth cleaned and x-rayed and everything. But teeth tell so much about your health. They tell so much about your whole body.
Yep.
And the fact that insurance for dental isn't as expansive as it is for the rest of your body, which is baloney. Because like, I have not had a toothache thing, but I can't imagine how painful that is. And like the need to go get something done about it.
Right.
And then you don't go until it is that bad.
And one of the misconceptions about dentistry in general, especially with insurance, is that everyone goes to the dentist. They say even with really good dental plans, you're lucky to get 50 to 60% of your employees in a given year to go to the dentist.
Wow.
And that's why dentistry is somewhat reasonably priced with insurance because they know not everyone's going to use it.
Yeah.
The insurance companies know that. It's all statistical. But ask your average friend, like, have you been to the dentist yet this year? Or did you go last year?
When's the last time you went?
It's actually been a couple of years.
Oh.
So that's one of the things that is a misconception too, that everyone goes to the dentist. And even some of the top-notch, like the teachers union or a company with great benefits,
well,
they know not everyone's using the benefit.
Well, there are so many people too who are afraid of going to the dentist.
And that's a factor for sure.
And that's a huge, which it blows my mind. But of course, again, I've never had a cavity. I've never had really bad issues with going to the dentist. So I've always enjoyed it.
Right.
But I could see someone who's had a lot of issues in their mouth, afraid of going because then it just means one more thing. But again, like, I don't know, like you notice when someone's missing a tooth, you might not notice if they're missing half their eyebrow.
Right.
Like,
or a bad haircut.
Or a bad haircut.
That you'll notice.
You're going to notice.
Yeah, we do.
Where did you go?
Yeah.
We do. We notice, I guess. Yeah, I suppose in your guys' field as well. You're always kind of like, oh, okay.
Do you look at everyone's teeth?
Yeah.
Not to. We don't want to admit that, but
sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to, though.
Right.
Like, it's like if I know a lot of electricians, they definitely look at your house and go like,
probably when it's your field.
Yeah.
Well, and you look at some cartoon characters like Goofy. Look at how the cartoonists made his teeth.
Yes.
They stick out and there's a big space.
Yes.
So it's like, I think human nature for many, many years has known what is kind of socially acceptable for teeth to look like. And if your teeth don't look like that, Goofy, which is too bad. But
did you ever watch Project Runaway?
Yes.
And the episode where they took her teeth, she had a gap in her tooth.
Oh, and they made her
and they made her close it, like surgically get her teeth closed or veneer. I don't know what they did, but like her teeth were beautiful. They had a gap. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
The gap was probably good too because then nothing gets stuck in there and then you don't have to worry about cavities in there. But like they made her surgically change her teeth to be most socially acceptable.
Right.
And it's just crazy because like there's another, like she probably freaked out every time she has like flashbacks to that.
Right.
With the unnecessary thing. But like you said, like Goofy, like that's what people are thinking. Like,
but some of it is their brand. It's who they are. It's something they love about themselves. And that's cool too.
Yes.
Yeah. If you love your space, great.
Sure,
yes.
Sure. Are there any exciting innovations within the field that you guys are kind of excited about? Technology is changing so rapidly now. You talked about the X-ray system, how it's very different now. Anything else kind of?
Well, since I've been practicing a lot of things, one big thing is digital scanning. We don't take impressions anymore. You probably had impressions for your
Yes.
So now you can scan, and dentists use this too for doing crown and bridge and everything. You scan the mouth with a wand that's, about the size
Like
of
a
big
3D
spoon, and
scanner.
then, and then you print a 3D model with that.
Wow.
That model can be used to make appliances like retainers and stuff. So that's been, so digital x-rays, digital photography. When I first started, I think we were taking slides, Kodak slides.
Sure.
Yes.
Then we went to Kodak prints. And I remember going to Walgreens, when I did my early consultations, we had a carousel of slides, and we'd sit in there and click through and show you your teeth.
Yeah.
So many changes, but it's a lot of digital stuff now. We do aligners where we can move the teeth ourselves on our computer and then request the aligners per.
Or make them in our office.
Yeah, we make them in our office
cool.
sometimes. If it's just a few, we send them
And
out.
have same day aligners if needed.
Wow.
Like for some of these patients that live out of state, if they need a tooth tucked in or something like that, we can scan them in the morning and have the aligners ready by the afternoon.
What?
Wow.
So that's kind of nice. I mean, we don't have time to do that for everybody. Like our lab's not big enough, but
No,
in an urgent
definitely.
situation, we can make that stuff happen.
You can make it happen.
And the front desk has seen a lot. In my early days, of course, there was the big appointment book.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Of course.
All handwritten. And
We
now,
did that at the desk too.
Now when you come in, we digitally sign the patient in. A message goes to the back. You can see who's here, what's the procedure. We can see the assistant that seats them, what chair they seat them in.
That's awesome.
So, and then as we go to the chair, up on the screen is their chart within big letters, their nickname or what they want to be called.
Sure.
So if I'm going to Heather's chair, I can literally read your name from here, from me to you. And I haven't seen your face yet, and you haven't seen me. I'm just approaching, but you kind of approach it prepared to say the patient's name.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then we can read a lot of information.
I love that.
Hobbies and parents.
Well, that also makes it personal.
Yeah, that's exactly why we do it.
Touch of, extra touch for sure.
Well, there are a lot of innovations coming, especially with AI, in tooth movement. And I think we both feel really strongly about that interpersonal connection. And with some of the technology coming out, I think of that phrase, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Sure.
And there are ways that we could almost completely remove ourselves from clinic. We could be, like our assistants could scan patients, and we could be doing everything remotely where we maybe don't even come into the office, removing teeth from our home computer. We don't do this. But theoretically, you could do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Move the teeth, order the aligners, order the brackets in pre-set up trays, have the assistants put them on. We're choosing not to go that route.
Yeah.
There are some offices that do that. I know an orthodontist in Texas, she works from home. And you might think, how can she work from home? Her assistants are taking pictures, taking scans, sending them to her.
Sure.
She reviews them all from her home computer, moves the teeth, puts in the orders.
Yeah.
The assistants are at the office doing it. And it's that just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
And that is not how we want to run our practice. We want to talk to the patients, talk to the parents. We want to be involved.
Yeah.
And if you're going to a doctor's office, don't you want to see the doctor?
Yeah, of course.
It's like the Wizard of Oz.
Sure,
The
yeah.
doctor's behind that curtain.
Let me pull him up on the screen
Trust
here.
me,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
here. She's
Well,
here.
but then it's also like you guys went to school for all of this, not to actually, like, you are doing it in the sense of you're looking over the stuff, but then you're not actually doing it. And like you said, like, people will sometimes come here and just want someone because they're the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nothing wrong with Ralph's haircuts,
Sure.
but there's sometimes they're like, no, we want the owner.
Yeah.
We want the owner. And
I've been doing hair much
anybody
less
else.
than everyone else.
Well,
Yeah.
we had that one time at my other shop where this girl was fresh. She was green, but because of the way she dressed and the way her hair looked, someone was like, no, I want her. She looks like she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She actually does not know how to do a stacked bob at that point, and it looked awful.
Yeah, sure.
And there was complaints, and I was like, well, you picked her based off of this or that.
Right.
Like, someone might look at that other office and say, like, ooh, how technologically advanced and whatever.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly. So
But-
there are advances,
Yeah.
a lot of technological advances, and they might have an awesome website and great social media presence and all this stuff.
Sure.
But we want to stay personable and stay hands-on and stay involved and be present. And
No.
Well, and then
that's-
too, you've done the back work and coming in, like you guys said, there's stuff you learn in school, but just like with haircutting, until you're touching the face, the body, the head, whatever,
Right.
you're not really going to know what you're doing until you're really going through it. And every time something new comes up, you learn from it. Or in our case here, every time a haircut gets messed up, you learn from it.
Mhm.
Hopefully.
Right? You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like, I would rather have a person do it than like, because like there's a lot of things that are being automated in general.
Yes.
Like machines will come in, but the machine's not going to like
Mhm.
look at something and go, oh yeah, your tooth isn't aligned, but because of this little spot
Yeah.
right here, it's pushing in that way and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
The computer's not going to know that. It's just going to read information. You have
Right.
Yeah.
the multi-levels.
And I think now there's so much, kids are really getting sucked into all the technology and they're feeling isolated and sad and more depressed than ever before.
Sure.
Mhm.
And so we really get a lot of joy over engaging, especially our teenage patients.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes it's the most conversation they've had all day long.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, they might be sitting at a computer at school or unfortunately, sitting on their phones at school. Maybe.
Or even at home, their parents
Yes.
on their phone all day.
Right.
A lot of kids are emotionally
Detached.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
and
don't want to say
neglected.
neglected,
Yeah.
but it is neglect.
Yeah.
But like they, again, like, yeah, a lot of kids come in here and this is the only attention they get.
Yeah.
Sure.
The most conversation they've
Yeah.
had all day long. And that's what we want to be, as the bright spot in their day and make them feel good about
Yes.
themselves. And like we see them, like
That's-
you were saying earlier.
That's how I was as a kid too. I loved going to the doctor. I loved going to the dentist because someone was taking care of me
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
someone was paying attention to me and someone was
Mhm.
giving me the care that I needed or wanted.
And there is the technology to watch patients remotely. So you give this teenager a little box that they can scan their teeth and the doctor can just watch remotely instead
wow.
of getting the patient in the office.
Yeah.
We could embrace that technology. We're choosing not to
Sure.
because we still want to have that relationship with our
Yeah.
patients for their mental health.
Yes.
And I know people are busy. Of course, people are busy. They'd rather just sit at home on their phones and do everything remotely.
Sure.
Mhm.
That's just not how we're choosing to.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, there is someone for everyone.
Right.
And if someone chooses,
Right.
like, that is the perfect path for me.
Right.
I want that dentist because I am too busy. I'm too anxious. I'm too this. Or I cannot physically go there.
Right.
That's fine for them. That's not like it's a
Right.
horrible thing, but you do offer so much more than just looking at the teeth. You are giving those little things, those human touches
Right.
that are perfect.
But I think in the grand scheme of things, maybe in 20 years I'll be wrong in saying this, but I think in the grand scheme of things, everyone is looking for community. Everyone's looking to be seen. Everyone wants.
That's why cults are so popular.
That's why cults are popular. I was going to say that's why bars work.
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah,
sure.
yeah, that too.
Yeah. But even dating is going back to actually having a physical date
Yes.
instead of all this online stuff.
Yeah.
People want that connection.
People want those connections. Right now that you mentioned the like teenager example, I've seen that a few times now with, well, you mentioned your son, right? Like
Mhm.
getting a haircut. I have some teenagers that I've been with for a little while. So now they're into their teen years. I have one in particular that I can think of that home life's not awesome. And now he drives so he can get himself here. And whenever he's here, it does feel like a bit of like a mentor session because
Mhm.
I'm asking him, what are you thinking about college? Are you thinking about trades? Like, what's this looking like? Are you talking to any
Maybe
girls?
no one else is asking.
Yeah, no one.
Yeah.
And I have, you get those little sparkles
Nobody else is asking him
that
these
you
questions.
can
Yeah, that's
see, and it has been one of the very fulfilling parts of what we do, changing. I mean, we're you guys as well, physically changing appearances, and we dabble in that as well.
Oh,
it's,
and I bet
it's
the
really
best
nice.
part too is when they get the braces off for the first time
Mhm.
and they're licking their slimy teeth
Yeah.
and they're
They
looking
do a
at them
whole
in the mirror.
parade thing.
They do.
Yeah, they play music. Yeah, it's really nice.
So I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go. You guys can take a look and then give me the parade.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
parade,
Yeah.
sure,
We'll
sure.
play the music, even though, you're just visiting.
Yes. Do I get a baton?
Yes.
I'll bring my own. It's okay.
Last question, guys. Thank you so much for
You're
being
welcome.
so
Yeah.
gracious
It's been
today.
enjoyable.
The Crawford and Wright has been in town for generations now. What do we hope the legacy of Crawford and Wright is kind of going forward? I know you guys don't want to necessarily lose that personal touch. Like, what does it look like in the next couple of years, few years? for you guys?
Well, we're bringing in Dr. Young.
Awesome.
But we still, he bought a house here. He's going to be a local Kenoshan.
Awesome.
He's not from here. He's from Ohio, but
Awesome.
he's committed to Kenosha with his
Yeah.
wife. And I think what we really just love is being a part of the community, and we sponsor soccer teams and coach, and we're involved in things, and
Yeah.
we're really ingrained in the community. We're not a fly-by-night kind of a
Sure.
Yeah, sort of
Yeah.
carpet
Practice.
beggars that come in from a different
Yeah.
city. I think we, in some way, we're one of the few orthodontists that actually live in the town. I know I can think of one other, but some of them live out of town and come in to practice. So we're very community committed, as a legacy. A lot of people even nowadays just say, well, go to Crawford. They forget to say Crawford and Wright. She's been here
Crawford and
15
Wright.
years.
I'm fine with that, though.
But I think the legacy will be just they do a good job, quality. They stand behind. You can go to them 20 years later to
Sure.
fix your retainer, and they don't
Yeah.
charge you to fix it.
Yeah.
So I think the legacy of being part of the community,
Doing the right thing.
doing the right
Yeah.
thing.
That's awesome.
Y'all
love
be
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's all about, right?
That's why when you told me the name of your podcast, I was like, oh, stop.
Yeah.
This is so
Y'all be good.
great.
I mean,
that's like a
yeah.
life, like you just live your life that way. Y'all
Yeah.
be good.
For sure. Well, just full transparency, there has not been any kind of like a collaboration or anything like that with marketing. But I could say from having our 3 kids there, you guys 1,000% live up to what you guys are doing from the front desk. We have one of your staff members who brings her kiddo here, and we've just seen it across the board with our 3 kids and with us, and you guys have been really wonderful. So thank you so much for what you guys are doing in town, and I can't wait to see what the next few years brings
Thank you.
for your practice.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
This is
Excited.
great.
And I'm not
chatting.
going anywhere. Might work a little less, but I love what
That's
I do.
okay.
Yeah.
And,
You deserve it.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you quickly. You're a big scuba guy or
well,
fisher.
I used to be. I haven't actually dove.
Okay.
Gosh, between 5 or 7 years. I did it a lot. We used to take trips to the Caribbean, and
Yeah, you have a lot of photos.
I haven't done that lately. But I was a high school swimmer. I love the water. I mean, if we go somewhere now, I might snorkel, but not dive. But I'm
sure.
not afraid to. I just, the friends that we have that used to do that, some of them aren't doing it anymore
Sure, yeah,
either,
of
just
course.
because of aging. And
Yeah.
but
His
I
other
love,
dive
I love the
buddies
water.
left
I
the
love
house.
Jane and I have both. I got Jane's certified here, so
And
Dr.
Jimmy
Wright-
would dive with you, and
Yeah,
Aw.
the kids have. But
I love that. I really enjoy seeing the dynamic between you two, especially
Oh, thanks.
from the outside looking in. I mean, you could see a bit of a healthy father-daughter relationship, right? And that's beautiful to see,
yeah,
especially thinking back, like my daughter's 8 now. You guys, I think, are going to see her soon, if not already did. I think my wife took her. Yeah, and I think I'm getting sentimental in my old age, and I
Yeah.
really enjoy you guys. Thank you so much.
thank you.
thank you.
All right,
Thanks for
we'll
having
let you
us.
go.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much
All
for
right.
coming.
Y'all be
Awesome.
good.
Y'all be good.
Y'all be good.
Let's go.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Y'all Be Good. And as always, a reminder that we are a project of Little Lion Cuts. We hope you've enjoyed these stories just as much as we have enjoyed sharing them. Every family has a story, and we're just grateful that we get to hear yours too. If you've enjoyed today's episode and you think someone else might need to hear it, don't forget to share this podcast with them. And hey, while you're at it, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. That really does go a long way. You definitely don't want to miss out on any of the real, raw, and inspiring conversations we've got lined up. And we'd love to hear your stories too. So go ahead and find us on Instagram at y'allbegoodpod, or drop us a message with your thoughts. And until next time, y'all be good.